How are you doing, everyone? Hope everyone is well. Talking about SoFi, talking about Robinhood. Just a short little sweet little conversation here about both these stocks, what's going to happen. We like to dream here. I'm bullish on both of them, so this is not a conversation to rag one of them out. I think, how could you not be for both these? I mean, they're doing spectacular things on both ends of the spectrum here with what they're doing with the future, with money, everything. So let's go right into it. Obviously, I think it's obvious that, right now for till December, Robinhood will win in stock share price, no doubt about it. Robinhood is above, 120, playing around this 130 zone, crazy, but still we're yet to see Q4s. I don't know that Robinhood will, it's a hard conversation, and this is why it's so difficult to say that Robinhood will, not make quarterlies here for Q4. I do think they're going to come out with great quarterlies. The question is, how good are SoFi's quarterlies going to be? I think that's a real big conversation. So, I think we'll just say right now, Robinhood probably will be the winner, at least for quarterlies and revenue for the whole year, and stock share price for 2025. But this is where the argument starts here for 2026. Can SoFi be crowned the new, so to become king here of with what everybody's thinking here? So let's get into it. Like I said here, Robinhood is definitely in this moment right now of, before we had that crash in the market here, Robinhood was, looking like it was going to go up to like 160. And, I was like, oh my God, I even at that point, I had a friend contact me. He was like, do you think I should buy Robinhood? And it was like 150, 160. And I said, not right now. I think that's very dangerous because the stock is trading. I mean, people are complaining about Palantir. I mean, like Robinhood over here, I'm like, these are crazy prices. They're going to have to really come out with a crazy quarterly here. And they did. They came out with a really good quarterly. But the thing that I think, Robinhood here, what's going on with it, and still being very expensive stock, this is good and it's bad. And this, I think that's where a lot of the argument is here. And I'm sitting here I love Robinhood here, so I'm not trying to say anything mean here. We're just talking. We're being honest. Imagine we're just all old men sitting around the table drinking coffee, talking. Here's what we're doing. This is kind of the argument right now, is that if Robinhood's going to continue with this price action where it's at right now, this 130, even 120 zone where it sells off, but still getting a little deeper into 130s here. These quarterlies from here on out are really going to have to produce, and this is where the fight is going to start here by either Q1 or Q2 going into this next year in 2026. So the next 6 months with SoFi and Robinhood here could be very fun to watch. And it's not to say one of them is going to win and that the other one's going to eat the other one. We're not saying that. I think both these companies are going to fundamentally do well in the next decade, and they're going to be, they're going to run beside each other. They're always going to be there, but they're really, at first, they're going to be huge problems for, when they really get somewhere here, when they start coming out with $5 billion quarterlies. We're talking years down the road here. But when they start releasing some monstrous quarterlies here, they're going to start to be a lot more of a problem here for bigger banks because they're pushing into technology. They're looking at crypto. They're looking at futuristic, ways to bring banking systems to people, trading to people, easy ways to do this. Robinhood here is obviously, however you like it. Some people, do not like to trade on Robinhood. I think Robinhood's fine. I had a buddy sign up a month ago on Robinhood who was wanting to get into trading. I think Robinhood's fine. I know people that have a lot of money on Robinhood, and I know a lot of people that have a few bucks, but either way, Robinhood is bettering their software. They're doing great here, and they're getting more. Obviously, we saw a lot of this push this year with them getting into better graphs and, for day traders, stuff like that, and options and all that. So Robinhood undoubtedly in being in this talks of wanting to fundamentally push into the banking sector, but still, there's a lot of work to be be made there. I'm very curious to see if Robinhood can continue with these aggressive quarterlies. This last quarterly that they came out with was fantastic. I mean, it was a great quarterly. So this 1.17B, the billion, big quarterly. Now, the question is, this year, if you know, 2025, Robinhood has had very much of a camel hump releasing of quarterlies. Now, they've been great. They've been great quarterlies. There's no doubt about it. The question is, if we're going to go into 2026 and they're going to have SoFi on their backs here, just right behind them here, they're going to have to continue to push up here, because I do think, we're talking about, just a matter of time where SoFi can come in here with, million here, million there, push here. Here we go. By Q1, Q2, SoFi could be caught up at least, and then we could have this neck and neck race here. Now, this is where another issue might show up with Robinhood here. And I only say this because Robinhood's doing so good. When something's doing good, what do you want to do? You want to poke at it. I'm poking at it here. With Robinhood being such an aggressive stock share price here, obviously quarterlies are great, company's great, everything's going great with it. But with this stock share price being so high, when SoFi even shows clear signs, and this is good for SoFi, so if you're like, when are you going to say something good about SoFi? I'm saying that SoFi will get a lot of attention here, probably around Q1, Q2. Q4 is essentially what I look at as this stepping stone right here. Depending on what SoFi can achieve out of December here, ending out the year, obviously rate cuts next week. SoFi is probably going to be, shooting back up. They just took the, dilution. We saw the share price go down, but it's nothing to really be concerned about. They're taking the money, the stock offering money, and they're going to put it back in the company. But Robinhood here undoubtedly could start to find some trouble here if, they find themselves anywhere getting close to going back under $1 billion in quarterlies here. Think about how devastating that would be if they, a quarterly down the road here in 2026, Q2, Q3, it was under $1 billion. That'd be a problem. That'd be a big problem for them. So, especially if SoFi continues into $1 billion range. This is why I am so adamant that SoFi can start leapfrogging here getting into next year. So Robinhood, I think it's fundamentally great stock, great company. But with it running so high in stock price, because, I say the same thing to a friend face to face, when you're buying Robinhood at such an aggressive level, at this 120, 130, you're depending on them to keep producing great quarterlies when they've it's been a little mixy here this year from what we've seen. I don't think it's a situation of like, oh man, they're really going to start to lose a lot of money. We're not seeing that. This is just a thing where there's this other bright, shiny diamond coming up, another diamond coming up here, and that's SoFi, 100%. I don't think a lot of people are going to be paying $130, $150 for Robinhood here when SoFi is well in the $1 billion stage by Q1, Q2, again, releasing those kind of quarterlies when it's still, a $40, $50 stock at that point. I can't imagine people are going to do that, especially when the projection and things that could be happening here this year will leave SoFi in a great position to really get a lot more attention. So Robinhood's definitely won the year of most popular kid. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it's been a phenomenal year for the company. They've done great, quarterlies, everything. This has been the biggest year they've ever had. And it's really amazing to see. And I think they're going to continue to do well. There's no doubt about it. I think there's I think within the next 5-10 years, I would probably push it maybe to a decade, 10 years here, to where Robinhood will be looked maybe something like, because of the generation that's attached to it, it will be looked at something like a Fidelity. It will be taken a lot more serious, where to be like, well, if you want to put your money in a safe trading platform, Robinhood's the place to be. If you say that now, there's still an argument in the room where people are like, And two, I get there's reason because Robinhood does some things to stop trading, show some things like that. But all in all, Robinhood undoubtedly will have another great year. It's just a question of what are they going to get their quarterlies more stable? I think that's where a lot of us are at right now because, it's a little concerning. The stock is running high. It's doing great. There's no doubt about it. But, for someone that's coming in here new, because, there's some of you are in here at 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks. I remember just a year ago, like a year and a half ago, telling people to buy Robinhood. I made a video. No one watched it, but I made a video saying like when Robinhood was at like 15, 20 bucks or something, I was like, man, this is going to be a $50 stock here. Now look at it. I mean, this thing's crazy. We'll see what happens here. I still think it's a great stock. But yes, like I said, buying it at this level, it's interesting to see what it's going to continue to push here. This fourth quarter they release, it will, from projections of what we can see, it will be over $1 billion. But, so will Sofi. So this is where it's gonna start getting interesting here. Now, talking about SoFi, obviously I've yammered so much about SoFi. What can I say here? But obviously we're coming off of this stock offering that SoFi just did this week. It's great. They allocated the money back in the company. They obviously are pushing into bigger and better things here. Undoubtedly, listen, I see this comment all the time. People go like, if you had to pick one, would you rather pick Robinhood or would you rather pick SoFi? This does not mean anything towards the other one. It just means where my love is right now and where my expectation is right now with growth, with stock price, in the company being bigger, having a bigger basis here, deeper tunnels. It is definitely SoFi. I look at SoFi right now and I go like, they, in the last 5 years, have achieved this goal of becoming a bank. They have done it. They have really set themselves up this beautiful platform that they've made as being a bank. And they have continued to adapt this and make it bigger and better every year. This is where we are going to start to see a lot of this show itself here. It's done well this year, but undoubtedly we're going into 2026 where SoFi is saying like, hey, big boy quarterlies are coming up here. Big boy quarterlies. Okay, so imagine by like Q2, that's 3 quarterlies away here because we still got Q4. Imagine by Q3 with SoFi, we're still in $1 billion quarterly zone. Now SoFi has been great releasing quarterlies here. It has not missed. I mean, it's been a beautiful track record. Imagine by the summer, July, August of next year, okay? We're talking about, that's 3 solid quarterlies because more than likely, I'm counting Q4 here that's going to come out to end out the year. It's going to be in $1 billion zone, okay? We're $50,000 short at this point. So, man, what are we talking about? Where's Robinhood at that point? Is Robinhood still pushing an aggressive $1 billion zone with quarterlies? Is SoFi past it or right on its tail with it? Stock share price is going to get, there's 2 major things here this year that are going to get interesting. Stock share price with SoFi and the revenue, quarterlies here. Quarterlies could pass Robinhood. Stock share price could catch up to Robinhood. I think at this point, most of us would take SoFi looking like a $60 to $70 stock. That would be radical changes coming to a lot of people's portfolios if, SoFi was showing that here maybe in 6 to 8 months. Maybe sooner than that, who knows? We've seen stocks move much more aggressively. 2, I know I've said this, but you got to have this in the back of your mind too, up front, wherever. Next week, rate cuts. Somewhere this month, we're talking about who's going to take the new seat for the chairman here. Trump should announce it. Either way, it could be Gumby. It doesn't matter. They're going to do rate cuts. That Trump is going to pick someone who he's going to tell them and say, hey, I want rate cuts. Okay, that person is going to do rate cuts. Now, Trump is talking about insanely aggressive rate cuts here, okay? Two, with that, I think a lot of us, I'm not trying to get political here, but, as an investor in the market and having to deal with some uh-ohs this year in the market with one person in particular, Mr. Jerome Powell himself, I would like someone, I'm not looking for how should I put this? I'm just looking for someone a little more charismatic and upbeat in that position, even if there's hard situations, to be optimistic, talk about the good, what could happen, how we fix this, instead of just like, oh, this is terrible. This is terrible. It's terrible. They're terrible. I think a lot of us are kind of sick of that because the market goes, what do you say? And, we lose tons of, money right there. So, friends, I think it's going to be an interesting year. I love this. I'm not making this conversation to, pick on anyone that's in one of these or not in the other one. I think they're both going to be phenomenal companies into the future. There's no doubt about that. They've made it. But I think this is fun, and I'm curious to see which one of these will take the winning lead for next year. It could be cut down the middle where SoFi passes Robinhood in quarterlies, and Robinhood keeps the win when it comes to share price. Robinhood could just continue to run on a high share price, price action. I do think, and I don't say this to be lightly, but I do think that SoFi will easily double in stock price this year. I'm expecting by summer this thing to be pretty heavy, especially getting into this $1 billion quarterly zone here. So, yeah, friends, I'm going to shut up now. I wish all of you the best of luck, and let me know what you think here. Like I said, I'm bullish about both of them, but I think this is a fun moment to see. Look at where they both have met here. By Q4, this is going to be very interesting to see where they're both at. Very interesting. All right, bye, everyone.